Hello guys, and welcome back to another Hunting Prestige fitment video. On today's video, we're going to be showing you a fitment guide on how to do the rear LED boot lights. But before we get started, I just want to showcase two products which are new retrofits to Hunting Prestige. We've just successfully retrofitted the electrochromatic mirror onto our Defender. Now, you would have this already fitted to your Defender if your vehicle is a 2020, but from 2021 there actually was another downgrade which a lot of customers didn't actually know about. So the auto dimming electrochromatic mirrors were actually stopped in 2021. So the way to tell if yours are actually dimmable or not is obviously you can see if it's dimmable. There is a little black line which follows around the outside of your mirror if it is a dimmable one, and the differences as well on the back, there's actually two connectors instead of one. Now, obviously, if you're a right-hand drive, it's only for the passenger side, would be the left-hand side, but if you're a left-hand drive customer, it will be on the right-hand mirror. Another product that we have just figured out to retrofit as well is actually the pedestrian warning light. So we didn't actually know about this retrofit. So big shout out to Zachary, who lives in New York, who actually said that this is a retrofit his vehicle didn't have. So you'd know if it doesn't have it because on both sides of the vehicle, instead of it actually being a button there will actually just be a plain blank. So this is a product that we're going to be retrofitting soon, but we want to know what you guys think. So if you want to see a fitment video of this electrochromatic dimmable mirror, we want to see over 100 likes on this video, and if you get over 100 likes, we will do a fitment video on it. So that's enough talking about retrofits. Let's get on with the fitment video. Okay, we're now joined with Nick. Nick is going to be doing the step-by-step on how to fit these lights, and I'm just going to give you a brief overview on what Nick is doing. We actually have two different versions of the rear LED boot light, which is our V1, which we actually get from Defender 3D. They're a very, very good light, and a lot of customers that come in for a fitment actually end up leaving with one of them LED lights. But we have also redesigned them now to have a more sleek OEM look. So it's a flush light, which actually replaces one of the panels. So they're a much more sleek design, and actually they're wired differently. So we're going to split up this video into two different sections so you can see the different process on how to fit them. So what tools you're going to be needing for this video, or for this fitment, is actually you need some plastic trim tools. You can use metal ones, but we also recommend to have plastic so you don't scratch anything on the vehicle. You might need a pick. We also recommend having a T30 and a T40 bit. If you don't have those, obviously you can use a ratchet with the bits on there as well. You also need wire guide and probably some masking tape. So let's get started. So the first thing that we need to do to fit our V2s is to remove this little hanger bit. So just push it with your finger until it's about a 45-degree angle, and then just give it a little tug and it will actually come off. There is a little release just inside where it guides it back in again. So just make sure you pull it at a 45-degree angle. Okay, the next step is actually get a T30, and you're going to remove the T30 bit like so. Okay, and remove the latch cover. And the next step is to actually remove the little bit of the latch with the T40 bit. There's two screws at the top and the bottom. Sometimes they are quite torqued up, so that's why I recommend using a ratchet if you don't have strength using it in a screwdriver. The next step is to get a trim tool and remove this top panel. And there's clips located all the way at the back, so be very, very careful when removing these 4 clips to make sure you don't snap any. They are very, very fragile, and we've known customers in the past to be fitting them and actually snapping them, so that's why we recommend using the plastic trim tool rather than the metal one. There is a little retainer just at the front, which you'll see shortly, which is very, very fragile, so please be careful when removing that. Yeah, so just this little bit here, be very, very careful when removing it, because as you can see, we've had this off a couple of times to fit in different versions, but they are very fragile. You can replace these from Land Rover relatively cheap if you want to. You should like this one here. Well, the next step is to actually remove the what we normally call the D pillar, but obviously because it's a 90, it's actually a C pillar off the back. So use a little pry bar because there's some clips and retainers there. You can use the same trim tool to do it, but Nick's special tool is his snap-on pick. The next thing we actually have to do is remove the little courtesy light. The best way to do it is to get the top of the edge with a pick and just pull it off. As you can see, it releases pretty easily. Next thing to do is to grab the wire guide. And what we use the masking tape for is just to basically attach the wire to the wire guide. You can run it without a wire guide, but it is very difficult to sometimes find the wire. So now feed the wire with the wire guide all the way through to where the courtesy light does come out. And as you can see, there's two different connectors on the end of the LED light. Okay, so now we've run the wire through and the wire is now poking out of where the courtesy light is. What you need to do now is actually remove the grey clip, which goes on the back of the courtesy light. It's pretty simple to do. There is just a little release clip on the back of the grey. So what you want to do is now grab the cable from the courtesy light and plug it into our female part of ours, new LED light, and then grab the other end of the cable and plug it into the courtesy light. Okay, so leave that for now, and the next thing that you need to do is actually run the wire for the LED light just behind the D pillar, like so. Now you just need to push the trim back in place, so it just clips in, so just give it a bit of a push. You might need to just look at it with a guide just to see where the clips need to go and locate properly. Just put the seal back on, so that goes on the outside of that trim. It's easy to do it with your fingers as you get the grip. There is the last little clip on the top of that trim that you just need to push in, so be cautious of where the wire is as well when you're pushing that in, because you don't want to snag the wire whilst you're pushing in that clip. Okay, so now we're ready to put the LED light up. So make sure that the guides are actually in the panel and just put in the 4 clips at the back. And then run the rubber over the top again, just like we did on the D pillar. And just make sure all the clips are in. Make sure it's now sitting nice and flush. Okay, the next step is just to put the tuck the wires back in and then put the courtesy light back in place. Okay, we just need to put the parts in that we've just removed. So using the T40, you need to put the latch back on and put the T40 screws back in. One at the top and one at the bottom. Just do it hand tight until it feels nice and tight. So the next step is to get the T30 and just screw in the other screw that we removed. And again, just do this hand tight. And don't forget to put on the little plastic trim that we did remove, which is actually for a coat hanger. And put the plastic trim back over the latch. Okay, now we're going to fit the Defender 3D, which is our version 1 of the LED light. It's a little bit different to the V2 that you've just seen because it goes on the opposite side of the boot. So instead of taking off the latch and things like that, this side is a little bit more simple. So we're just going to give you another step-by-step on how to fit these. So the first step is to remove the little toggle, which is a clip, same way as we did before in the part of the video. So a 45-degree angle, and just give it a little bit of a tug. We then use a T30 screwdriver or ratchet to remove the little screw in there. You don't have to take it all the way out. I think you just have to release it enough so you can actually pull that trim back. Next step is to remove the top cap. So what you want to do is just get your pry tool or trim tool and just find those clips. What we do is we actually twist the trim tool to actually release them rather than actually pulling on the clips, because that causes tension, and take it off like so. The next step is to remove the courtesy light on the right hand side. So same process as the last part of the video, just release it at the top and I'll actually release it and pull out. The next step is to actually remove the D-pillar. So what you will use is a pry tool or a trim tool just to release the clips. You can actually see them if you want to pull the seal a little bit just to get it off, and then obviously you need to pull it away a little bit so you can run the wire down like so. Okay, the next step, we are going to need the wire run again. So just put a bit of masking tape on your wire run, so then we can guide it through. Just guide that into the hole where the courtesy light was and run the wire through. And then you need to remove the courtesy light clip on the back. So there's a little retainer. If you push that clip in, it should release the courtesy light, and then put the male end into the female end of the LED light. Then get the male end of the LED light and put it back into the courtesy light. Just tuck the wires back in now and follow the wire around the back of the D-pillar trim. One thing to note is just to make sure that the wire that you've just run is very clear of any clips. So when you actually put the trim back on, like we're now doing now, you want to make sure that none of the wire actually gets caught on any of those trim clips. Put the seal back on. So again, just use your thumb just to run that down. It's the easiest way. Don't worry about using a trim tool or anything like that, because it will take a very long time. Push all the clips back in. You can get quite close to these trim clips just to make sure that all of them are in properly. And then again, just run that seal around the outside of the D-pillar. Make sure the D-pillar is nice and firmly in. And just use your hands just to make sure that everything's in properly and sitting flush. Now the wire's run, you want to take your T30 again and just tighten up that screw that we removed earlier. Okay, now get the hanger again and put it at a 45 degree angle and just push it in slightly and it'll clip in. Don't forget to put the courtesy light back in, so push the wire in a little bit, put the courtesy light facing down like you can see here, and then just push it in. There's actually retainers in there to help it go in. Now we need to reinstall the rear header trim. So don't forget there's 4 clips that hold this in, as well as retainers at the front. So you can use your eyes to make sure that all the clips are in. Just push them in firmly, we'll give it a smack. Make sure they're in properly, and then again just run the rubber on the outside of that header trim to make sure that the rubber goes on the outside of it. Now just check firmly that all of the clips are now engaged and everything is now sitting nice and flush. You want to grab the LED light. There's 2 little pins on the outside of these, which just tuck behind that trim. So push them in and then push the remainder of the wire back in the trim. So you may need to use a trim tool here just to push the wires in, just make sure that you don't see any wire and it's now sitting nicely in there. Okay, and on the back of the LED light there's actually a guide where that trim attaches to it. So just make sure you push it firmly and you should hear a click to make sure it's engaged properly. Okay, so there you go guys, that's the end of that fitment video. I hope you enjoyed that step-by-step process and it's easy to follow. If you have any questions on anything you've seen on today's video, or if you have any questions on how to fit any of our products, please get in contact with our sales team who are happy to answer any of the questions that you might have. So make sure you like, subscribe, and also click that bell notification for all of our step-by-step videos and all other content we produce at Hunters Prestige. See you next time.